This story takes place in a D&D 3.5 game. I was DMing a group of 6 in a custom campaign. The party had set out to find a group of orcs who were gathering at a ruined fortress in unprecedented numbers. The group had been tasked by a mysterious benefactor to place rune stones at the entrance to the orcs' fortress. The mysterious benefactor claimed it would help get rid of the orcs, but was sparse with the details. So, the party set out. The orc fortress lay deep in a wild brushland, overgrown with brambles and thick weeds. The terrain was nearly impassable. Luckily, the party ranger was able to roll a critical success on his survival check that allowed them to find the way. When the party got close to the fortress, they sent their rogue out to quietly place the runestones, and said for him to yell if he ran into trouble. Something you need to know about this rogue is that he was the kind of player who wanted the best of both worlds. He loved the idea of that romantic thief in the night, steal from the rich, give to the poor, a man of the people kind of guy, a regular old Robin Hood. But he also was the type to endlessly prank, and would go out of his way to create a situation that he found amusing, often at the expense of other characters. This rogue once knowingly attempted to steal from the champion of Tiamat, for no better reason than he simply could. But that is a story for another time. The party rogue began sneaking through the woods, and it wasn't long before he stumbled on an orc camp. He spied 2 individuals who had been tied up and left unattended while the orcs were out hunting, a drow and a high elf. Seeing his opportunity to do good in the world, he cut their bindings and continued on. The 2 prisoners never even knew he was there. The party, who was moving just behind the rogue, entered the camp, and immediately the 2 prisoners became suspicious. A few botched diplomacy rolls later, and initiative was rolled. During the rather short misunderstanding, the orcs began to return from their hunting, and much to their surprise, their food had multiplied, but seemed a little more fighty than they'd like, so they sounded the alarm and brought a host of orcs down on the party. At this point, the prisoners decided to help the party for now, given the whole "the enemy of my enemy is my friend" thing. Several rounds of combat later, and there are a lot of dead orcs, but more reinforcements are showing up every round. It's starting to look bad. The party is surrounded by orcs, who are moving through the trees and taking pot shots at them with javelins or short bows as they get a chance. Meanwhile, the bravest among the orcs are charging into their camp and slashing weapons with the melee fighters in the group. The wizard is laying down arcane artillery like only a wizard can, summoning blizzards and fireballs left and right. Our ranger was making some impressive shots, and returning fire at the orcs in the woods between bashing orcs with their bow. The Duskblade and the Dread Necromancer are slowly losing ground on the opposite side of camp. Suddenly, the Crusader yells out, "Wait, I've got a new thing!" and starts explaining that she can now basically smite whatever she wants, and all their friends, in a huge radius. The tide of battle quickly turns as the Crusader metes out righteous fury at the end of a halberd, taking down entire groups of orcs with the might of her ambition. By this point, the rogue has returned to the group, but he hasn't revealed himself, and the orcs all stop fighting and start backing into the woods. A much larger orc, missing one eye, walks out onto the field and declares that, "In Grump's name, we shall settle this with a trial of combat." He also tells the party that should they interfere in one another's fights, there will be consequences. 5 glowing specters that resemble orc warriors, all missing one eye, appear and challenge the party in one-on-one combat. Some of the party will probably dispatch their opponent with little difficulty, like the Crusader and the Duskblade. But when the wizard's turn comes up, he immediately knows he is in trouble. He went a little too hard in the previous combat and is almost out of spell slots. Lucky for him, the party rogue waltzes up and gives him one of his twin vorpal daggers. Grumpsh apparently sees this as a huge insult, and an avatar of Grumpsh appears on the field. He points to the rogue and curses him with sight. He can never hide again. Further, he is instructed not to move a muscle or face the wrath of Grumpsh. So, the Crusader fights, and as predicted, wins. Then the Duskblade fights, and manages to win. But, during the fight, the Duskblade notices that Grumpsh is secretly helping his warriors. The Duskblade opens his mouth to tell the party that Grumpsh is cheating, and screams in pain instead as his arm mysteriously snaps. The wizard is up next. The wizard plans to unleash everything he has left and hope. There's just one problem. The rogue is standing in the blast zone. Our wizard was top-notch, and the rogue, well, he'd gotten unlucky on a few of his core stats. There was a good chance the wizard would kill the rogue if he just fired away, so he told the rogue to move. The rogue, having the good sense to listen to the portable arcane cannon, steps out of the way. Apparently, the rogue had forgotten that he was told by the avatar of a god not to move, and so the avatar attacked. The Dustblade, who has by this point managed to somewhat recover from the pain of a broken arm, moves in to help the rogue. This prompts the avatar of Grumps to split in two. For those of you who aren't familiar with Vorpal weapons, whenever someone using a Vorpal weapon rolls a critical success, so a 20 on the die, it instantly decapitates the target, which almost always kills the target. So, as luck would have it, when the rogue's turn in combat comes up, he makes a stab with his Vorpal dagger. Natural 20. The avatar's head falls from its body, and its form goes limp, the illusory fighters vanishing. With the death of the avatar, divine energy begins pouring into the body of the rogue. Gods in D&D are a bit like Highlanders. If you manage to kill one, you get to take their power, and an avatar has like one level of godhood in them. They're just vessels that a god can control on the material plane, since they can't or won't go there themselves. So the rogue begins to make fortitude saves. I told him that he would need to succeed on 3 fortitude saves in a row to successfully absorb the avatar's power. He succeeds on the first. He succeeds on the second. It's looking like my setting will be adding a new rogue deity to its pantheon. And then, he fails the final fortitude save. He is going to be disintegrated by the divine power coursing through his mortal coil. Earlier in the game, our Crusader had found a ring of wishes. It still had one wish left in it. So, thinking quickly, she takes the ring and wishes to rewrite history so that she had dealt the killing blow instead of the rogue. It seemed to work, as the divine energy began pouring into her body instead. This could be the end of the Crusader. She makes the first save, the second, and the third. The Crusader manages to absorb the divine energy and achieves divine rank 0, so basically a demigod. I'm just stunned by this whole chain of events. The Crusader had told me when she first made her character that she wanted to become a god. That was her whole reason for leaving home. I had planned several story arcs for the pursuit of finding out how that might be possible. And yet, here in a single dice roll, my players eliminated months of carefully planned quests. So, yeah, I'm not too fond of Vorpal weapons these days, but they do make for an awesome story. Oh, and one last thing. Those orcs they were fighting? They decided that a Crusader who could kill an aspect of their god was much better for worship. But that's a story for another time. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to press the like button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it makes me feel good about making videos. As always, I look forward to engaging with you in the comments section below. Until next time, put faith in your Crusader, and have an odd day.